Good morning, everyone. It's really nice to be here. Thank you to Florian and Eva for the kind invitation to come and speak, and I think basically listen, because I hope to learn a lot from fellow scholars here today. So I wanted to take the chance of this talk to talk at a more theoretical, general level about breaking data silos, knowledge representation and semantics, and the possibilities that are available there, and where we still have work to do. So that'll be the basic topic of this talk. So immediately going towards the point of breaking the data silos, I wanted to focus on that and say that I think that that notion comes out of a fundamental sort of humanist vision, and the idea is that there's an instinct to open knowledge and to make it available for humanistic research and to develop human self-understanding. So breaking down data silos is a critical activity that attempts to liberate knowledge from smaller places where it can't be accessed, and along the way to potentially clarify terms of what information we're gathering, how it's formatted, what we aren't gathering, etc. And to also probably highlight that this has a fundamentally positive view towards information and its potential for supporting human reflection and self-understanding. Now, that instinct, I want to hark all the way back to Plato and say that that's fundamentally rooted in the Western humanities tradition, and the sort of classic allegory of the cave of Plato prefigures this sort of instinct. So the allegory of the cave, in which people are forced to look at images on the wall and eventually might be freed of their particular information silo and see a higher structure, is basically that structure of trying to move from a surface understanding to a more core understanding of the structures that guide the knowledge that we have, that we think that we have, which is fundamentally limited and constantly needs to be opened up by looking at the horizons of what gives us knowledge and determining what's going on in the background, and that's really the process of coming to a deeper knowledge. So that's the positive vision, that we can move from having a limited view, break down the silos, see the structures that were guiding our previous knowledge, represent them, be critically clear about them, and then try to arrive at new understanding. The sort of Faustian bargain in that, and the rest of the oeuvre of Plato, especially in the Socratic dialogues, is all about the fact that that's a dangerous moment, and that breaking down the silo frees us to a new level of knowledge, but also breaks down the trust that we had in traditional forms of knowledge that were held in these various databases that we've called upon. And so it's an opportunity to come to this deeper knowledge, but it also comes with the danger of, as is explored in the Socratic dialogues, of what's the word he uses? Anyhow, a hatred of knowledge, a distrust of knowledge, the breaking down of traditional structures which we used for our understanding. And so I think, not to summarize Plato too rapidly, that part of the investigation there is that it's not really, the goal isn't just to break down the silo and have the new level of knowledge that is the right knowledge, but the real achievement is really to build a method or a process that leaves open the possibility of breaking down the silo again and being aware of the fact that there's a constant ascent to a higher level of knowledge, which we must balance and not fall into misology, is the word he uses, hatred of knowledge. So now, doing a sort of Kubrickian jump from the bones into space. If we leap forward into the present, and this notion of breaking data silos, I think, is a continuation of the sort of digital transformation that we're all on in society, that was emblematically announced by Al Gore as the information superhighway. And so that, again, is this deeply humanist vision, at least in its positive sense. It's the idea that we make more and more information available, and this will lead to necessarily good outcomes. We will have greater ability to communicate with each other. We will have, it will drive greater equity via having more information available to everybody. It will create greater openness, feed higher levels of knowledge, and make life simpler by making information more clear. Now, as Plato pointed towards, there are dangers in breaking down the walls of tradition, and so all of these promises that come from just opening up the floodgates of information, as we all know in our lived lives, don't necessarily pan out into sudden liberation and happiness and joy. So we move all the information into a free space on the web, and then people start hiving it off into closed circles for information. In terms of equity, we find that there come to be unequal levels of access to this open information, which doesn't, so we don't arrive at that goal either. The ubiquity of information allows people to take the data in a different direction and supports a surveillance society. The leveling of information, of moving things out of silos, leads to distrust in information itself, because we have tons of disinformation. And rather than having a more simple view, we have many clashing points of view, so we have an overload of data, which makes our life less simple. So, what does this have to do with what we're talking about today, and knowledge representation and formal ontology, which is what I do? Well, this idea of doing semantics is really firmly rooted in the Western tradition, and it is basically about going into information spaces and looking at the data forms, which are the images on the wall, in order to try to inform the schemas, or to infer the schemas that are guiding our information structure, abstract on them, come up with higher level representations that really move us out of individual data structures into a higher representation that points us more broadly towards the real world that people are trying to, in good faith, in a scholarly context, make propositions about and try to work collaboratively together to build reliable data structures that people can do research on and make argumentation about. And this is a classic slide from Martin Doer, the chair of CIDOC-CRM SIG, and I felt that it didn't need to be changed at all. It's basically the illustration of this process. So CIDOC-CRM being one ontology in the cultural heritage world, but we have our silos at the bottom, and thanks to 20 years of development on an ontology structure, we have, as we saw illustrated in the previous presentation, an ontology that's adapted to moving data that's in various formats into a wider network where we can start asking these broader questions of who was that, and they're the same person, and what activities were they involved in, and what objects do they connect with. So we have a real positive outcome from that. We have a real breaking of the silo and supporting a broader, new, digital-based scholarship. So I'm going to spend I'm going to run over some of the accomplishments of what we do have positively, and then I'm just going to end by pointing towards what we need in order to take that further and not lose that momentum. So in terms of what we have positively, after many 30 years of research in this area, we have various different fundamental methodologies, so we have consistent ways of producing ontologies that can be checked by other scholars and allow us to come up with reasonable structures that are critically accessible and can be analyzed by others and improved over time. We have, as a solid information infrastructure, we have these ontological models, which allow you to do this abstraction over different data areas and bring data together. And a word I didn't use before, but I want to come back to it, is that an ontology really acts as a lingua franca, or a general language, to allow you to integrate knowledge from different databases. And so these are languages that are available in the community that are more abstract than what people are normally using, but which allow for a consistent representation of data across projects and data sets. We also have intense activity from many different contributing institutions who support building vocabularies and reference data, which allow us to not just have one way of expressing data to say somebody was born then and died then and encountered this person at that time, but also to, on the data level, unify the terms that we're going to use in order to, say, I don't know, classify activities according to common conceptual terms and not according to strings. And that's a valuable ongoing offer into the community, which allows this whole effort to build a new digital scholarship possible. We have lots of communities that have come up on either a institutional level or on a research type level, like in Tavia, looking at prosopographical data, which are the place where this knowledge, if it's going to survive and thrive, is going to be curated and maintained and built from. And we have and we're no longer in the phase we were even 10 years ago in terms of tooling. We have a whole bunch of open source software available that allows you to really create semantic data, either born semantic data or translate, as we saw in the previous presentation, existing data into this common structure. So we have tools for creating the conceptual models themselves, tools for doing mapping and transformation that's repeatable, the triple stores that allow us to explore knowledge graph information, and various semantic knowledge management platforms which allow you to maintain that data over time. We're not really out of the woods with semantic data and knowledge engineering in terms of that dangerous moment of doing the breaking of the chains and moving out of the silo. We have all of these tools, we have these interesting ontologies that allow us to integrate the data, but it's pretty niche. It's not very well known, and scholars don't really have it at their fingertips to use. And that's one of the dangers of this knowledge silo-breaking moment, is to open up a new knowledge path that's so obscure that people can't follow it. This is a representation, or means to point towards the ether. So what we need to do is establish ways to really bring the capability of ontology and knowledge engineering into the hands of humanist scholars so that they can use it firsthand to do that work. So in my last minute, I'll talk about ways that we can support that. So the fundamental bit is building understanding. So as I said previously, CIDOC-CRM and other ontologies build as a lingua franca. And I think a main point is that it's a language. And so it has to be something, it's not meant to be something that's done by the engineers over there. It should be something that's in the hands of the scholars. And so that means that it needs to have teaching methodology around it that presents it to scholars as a language. Scholars know how to learn languages, and this language is really tiny. So that's one way in which we need to move forward and think about ontology differently. Another thing is to maintain and develop communities. Typically speaking, scholars and the semantic data world don't mix. They might use semantic data if they find it for their work, but it's not embedded into their research outputs or the things that they get credit for. So we need more communities that are supported over time and not just in projects that allow people to put their data into a store for this kind of data, prosopographical data, and keep it alive and something that they can be recognized for as publishing, etc. I'm going to be 1 minute over. Second last point, we need to allow the expansion of expressivity of ontologies. So CIDOC-CRM is a ISO standard that provides a basic core model for describing event-oriented meeting of things in time and space. But that's really not enough for most scholarship. So we need to recognize that we haven't reached the final goal with CIDOC-CRM, but we need to enable people to extend the CIDOC-CRM, as was done in the Entavia project and the bio extension, in order to be able to cover the things that actually matter to scholars at hand. And last but not least, the ontologies themselves are the product of scholarship in a place and time relative to the incoming data structures from that place and time. And so an ontology isn't a static data product. It's one that's moving over time. We're in 7.1. There'll be an 8.1, etc. We need to have a constant revision of the base of this knowledge, critically accept that it might have to shift in various directions to reflect new knowledge we have from better scholarly practice from the past years. And with that, thank you for your attention, and thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, Josh.